50. So 50, the length of arc XY. So again, if you haven't seen an arc before, it's talking about on a circle. And now this marker is dying. All of them are dying on me. The arc XY is the arc from point X to point Y, and it's this curved length right there. So that's a little background. The length of arc XY of a circle is equal to 1/6 of the circumference of the circle. And so XY arc equals 1/6 of the circumference. The length of the arc is 7 pi inches. What is the radius in inches of the circle? So the first idea is we want to find out what the circumference is. How big around is the whole circle? And so if 7 pi is equal to 1/6 of the circumference, how do we get rid of the 1/6? Multiply by 6. And so we have 42 pi equals the circumference. You have your choice of favorite formula for circumference. You can either use 2 pi radius or pi times diameter. But you have to remember that diameter is equal to 2 radiuses because we're looking at radius for this problem. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the idea that this 42 is equal to 2 pi times radius. Well, first of all, we've got pi and pi. We can cancel that out, divide it. It goes away. Now we have 2 radiuses equals 42. So what does 1 radius equal? Divide by 2, divide by 2. And 1 radius is equal to 21 inches. And so it's building off the idea that this arc is a portion of the circumference. Find the circumference, and then circumference of the circle, solve it to find the radius. Other questions? All right. We are gonna go ahead and just open up the last 10 minutes. We'll open up the last 10 questions in 5 minutes, and then we'll answer questions for the last 5 minutes. I want you to ask about anything else you want for the end of this test, because we have to end in 10. So 5 minutes for solving, and then 5 minutes of questions. You may begin. and stop. All right, finishing off the test. 51 is E, 52 K, 53 B, 54 J, 55 B, 56 H, 57 E, 58 K, 59 E, 60 J. All right. It's a case of noisy person gets their question answered. What ones would you like to go over at for, hey, I just don't understand what it's asking, or I haven't seen this one before. What can we help to fill in the gaps with? Yes?
60.
60, straight to the end. So the average arithmetic mean of 7 consecutive integers. So first of all, consecutive is a number that you'll see a lot with the ACT. What does consecutive mean? Consecutive means that they happen right after each other. And so if you have consecutive numbers, you're talking about like 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. They're consecutive. They're one right after the other. And so if the average of these, they're consecutive numbers, they're just adding +1 every time. And so it's not really going to be an unbalanced average. And so what that means is not only is the average of these numbers 16, the number in the middle is also 16. Because it's evenly balanced. It's not the average gets skewed one way or the other. If it's consecutive, it's evenly distributed across all those numbers. It's going to be the same all the way. So we have 17, 18, and 19, and we have 15, 14, and 13. And so anytime you've got consecutive numbers, they're going to be nice and counting evenly, which is a great thing to have. And so now, once we know that, what is the sum of the least and the greatest? It'd be 32, I agree. So, again, if you know the trick, not a scary problem, but they phrase it in such a way that it's kind of weird. So understanding consecutive is something that can be very useful on the ACT. So I'd make note of that vocabulary word if you're not comfortable with it yet. Other questions? That one was an excellent one.
Can we go through number 51?
51, okay. So let S be the set of all integers written as 2n squared minus 6n. 2n squared minus 6n, where n is a non-zero integer. So which of the following integers is in S? So which one of these things can be created by this number? So, oh, there's an n there. This one is kind of a trial and error problem. It would take a while on this one. If you throw in 1, for instance, 1 squared, still 1, so we have 2 minus 6 times 1. We're in negative numbers, way too small, and so we want to go bigger. If we put in 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 6 times 2, we're still in negative territory. Gotta go bigger. If I pick 4 squared, 16 times 2 is 32. 32 minus 6 times 4, 32 minus 24, what do we get? 8. And so my guess is that the 6 isn't going to work. I'm going to double back with 7. Typing on calculator would be very important on this one, but there's just not really a fast way to solve this one. The thing you could do in your calculator, and this is what I would do, is go to the y equals button and type in the 2 variable squared minus 6 times your variable and the y equals thing. And now, rather than going to graph, use your second key and press that graph button to get to the table instead. This lists all of the things that would get spat out by those integers. And you can look down the table and see, do I see 6? Do I see 30? Do I see 46? Do I see 64? Do I see 80? Which answer can I get in that table? And so rather than typing it over and over again, I would use that table function to find an answer on that one. It's a very good question, but it could be kind of tedious because there's not a true mathematical way to solve it. It's just what does work.
Can you repeat that? Like
Sure.
how to
Can I
get that
borrow
table?
your calculator? Visual aid. So if we look at the calculator, there's the y equals button that is for entering equations. And so in that, I would type the equation that we have, 2 variable squared, and then minus 6 times the variable again. And so that's how you enter an equation into the graphing calculator. But rather than graph it, if we use the second key and then press the graph button where it says table up above, that gives you the list of all of those numbers. And so you can match from that list. And so looking at it, I don't see a 6. I don't see 30. I don't see 46. I don't see 64. But there is that 80. And so 80 is the one that gives us that answer. And with that, we have to be done.